Welcome to episode 107 of Rubbish Talk with me, Alasdair.
And me, Kirstie MacDougall.
Welcome, Kirstie. Probably a long overdue interview with a staff member. The last staff member we had on was Jane Bond in episode 12, which is many moons ago. So would you like to just introduce yourself to the listeners, explain who you are and what your role at Albion is?
Yes, so as I mentioned, my name is Kirstie and I am the Office and Training Vocational Qualification Administrator at Albion. So within my role, I deal with clients who need specific training courses for their guys on the site, such as the REHIS, working with waste management courses. We do asbestos courses, weighbridge, also bespoke ones, depending on the site's requirements. On the other side of it is, as a centre, we are SQA and CIWM accredited. So the other part of my role is individuals. Every site needs a COTC holder now, given the way the changes are happening. And as part of Albion, we help them get through the qualifications, deal with different levels, from hazardous to non-hazardous, modern apprenticeships, all the way up to the high-risk level 4 qualifications. So that's the kind of main areas we deal with.
Okay. So what brought you, how long have you been at Albion? What brought you into the world of waste management? All these things that you never knew existed until you turned up on our doorstep?
That is probably true. I have been with Albion now just over 7 years. Didn't realise how quick it was there. What probably brought me was the difference. I've always came from an admin background, but it's always been in a kind of small kind of bubble, not really having been able to have an impact on changes. So when the opportunity came to work with Albion and make a change on an impact on people's lives within like the qualifications and the training courses and develop their knowledge, that definitely caught my interest.
What type of company were you with previously?
So I previously worked with a compliance company that dealt with all the kind of financial sector, and my role was business support. Again, we organised events, etc. Those companies, but it was a complete different change in a sense, going from finance to waste industry. But there's still the compliance factor within it, and then following the procedures.
So what was the hardest thing when you first started here? What was your first hardest thing of trying to get your head round?
Probably the terms within the waste industry is the key kind of thing. But now, to me, dealing with the qualifications is second nature. If someone starts talking to me about a qualification, I'm already thinking of the acronyms for it. Whereas other people probably think, oh no, it's this qualification. But I can straight away think of the kind of acronyms, which just makes it easier for myself rather than try to say the long-winded version.
So since you started, what's been your favourite role, either at Albion and previous roles? Anything exciting you've been doing?
One of the latest projects we've done that it was probably an interesting one where we won a contract with Glasgow City Council and we were to deliver the Sustainable Resource Management qualification to 50 individuals from different areas within Glasgow City Council, from the guys that was out driving the bins to the guys that was doing the litter picking, etc.
Guys and ladies, Kirstie, I think.
Guys and yes.
I think you're using guys as the generic guys.
The generic, yes. There was a mixture of different backgrounds, different experiences. Some people only within the job a matter of months or a couple of years. Individuals being there 14, 15 years, and just having that chat with them while they're doing the qualification and the training and the different experiences they've dealt with, and trying to make them understand. One of the common phrases we heard during that training course was, "Well, I'm just a binman." No, you're not. They were, as we explained to them during the lockdown, etc. They were still there. They were on the front line. The only thing I was trying to make them realise they're not just a binman. The importance of what their role was within the city of Glasgow was a key thing as well.
I think that was quite an interesting project from our point of view, because there was quite, as you said, there was quite a diverse range of abilities. There were people that were absolutely terrified of going back in a classroom type environment, whereas there were younger people that were quite comfortable with that. They were quite comfortable looking stuff up on their phone. But I think one of the things we did, and you were heavily involved with, Kirstie, was that sort of having somebody there as a sort of mentor, just to almost do a little bit of hand holding with some of the candidates, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was one of those kind of secret ones that I was there to help, but it wasn't obvious in a sense that it didn't make them feel uncomfortable. They were just able to have a kind of general kind of chat with them. And they knew the answers. It was just, as you say, some of them get back into classroom situation or struggling to put it down in the words onto paper was the key kind of thing.
And we've got another tranche of that work coming up shortly, I believe. Is that for 50 candidates again?
No, it's actually going to be for 100 overall over the next 2 years. So we're busy working on getting the first 50 and getting all their details sorted. So, but overall, we're going to be doing 100 over the next 2 years.
The logistics of getting bin men free from collecting waste for a day is quite challenging. So full respect to the Glasgow City Council staff that have tried to coordinate it all.
Yes.
So what about your current role? Anything exciting you're doing at the moment?
So we've actually just launched a new project after taking on board feedback from clients and candidates and who are either currently undertaking their COTC or have done in the past.
There's you using acronyms again, Kirstie. Explain what a COTC is to the listeners, please. And if you can't remember, I'll help you out.
That's fine, because it's when I'm used to I can never remember the middle part of it. It's always the end part I can remember. Technical competence.
Certificate of Technical Competence.
But now you've put me on the spot.
You're
a
fine.
lot of them struggled to do with the written work and gathering the evidence, as well as doing their day-to-day job. So we had individuals who worked from the ground up within a company and were now at management level, and trying to put them in front of a computer was not an easy task. So what we actually launched the first one on the 30th of March, was the Smarter Pathway, which is on the Albion Academy. And what we've done is all the question papers that the individuals had to complete previously, we have broken that down to 4 main modules. And within those modules, we've created, thanks to one of our assessors, Anna, who has kindly created videos, sort of video clips with information. And at the end of each module, there is question papers for the individual who signs up to it to complete. Once they have completed those 4 modules, if they then want to go on and do their COTC, that covers about 50 to 60% of their COTC before even getting registered and signing up to the actual COTC itself. They've already done 50 to 60% of the work.
And what support, how are the candidates supported in that? They've obviously got access to the Albion Academy. What other support have they got?
So as well as that, we are also going to be running webinars every couple of months. But as well as the webinars, they have up to 3 hours one-to-one sessions with an assessor. A lot of them will know the information. It's just sometimes getting used to using a new system is probably the key kind of thing, and getting the answers down on paper. But as well as that, as well as the support, there's anything that I have an issue with in regards to the system, there's office support here as well that we can provide with them. And within the modules itself, there's a workbook that they can, when they're working through the videos, that they can jot their own notes down. So when they come to the questions, they're not stumped, or they can always go back and look at the videos. It's not a case of once seen, that's it, gone. They can always refer back to the videos. And as I say, there's the assessor that will assign the assessor to each cohort group as well. And they've got the WhatsApp group chat as well that we've set up. It's a key kind of thing. And
they're all scared to ask stupid questions in the WhatsApp group at the moment, but they'll get there. They'll get there. They're all being very polite at the moment, but it'll come.
Yeah, and literally all it took was one person putting a message in, and then it kind of started the chain. I think it's just that initial fear of, I don't want to be the first person to start this off.
Yeah. So obviously we've got cohort 1 start time. We've got cohort going to start in beginning of
end of June.
End of June. Yeah. So we've got the cohort 2 is going to start. So we're sort of phasing everything in 3 months chunks, if you like. How's that affecting your day-to-day role in terms of your how things used to work compared with how we've moved on to this Smarter Pathway?
At the moment, It's probably, in a sense, slightly easier. Candidates will no longer feel as if they're being harassed to a sense, because previously I was constantly chasing the candidates. And it's in a sense I felt sorry for them because they've signed up to a qualification, but then entered up on site, and as I always say to them when I did inductions, they have a plan of what they want to do, but every day is different, every site's different. They could turn up and everything, there's absolute chaos due to machinery or staff sickness, etc. And the guys then, ladies, individuals struggle with doing and being able to focus on the qualification, because if they start, they can do they've done the induction, but then not be able to start actually on the qualification for a couple of months, and that was what they were really struggling with.
I think that's what we're really trying to encourage them at the moment with the smarter pathways, isn't it? That just to get in and do little bit. It's all done in little chunks. It's small, short videos. So you can go in and watch a couple of videos. You can update your workbook. You can decide on your workbook. You can decide what you need to go and look at in a practical level. But a lot of the question papers are around. It's not just understand the legislation, it's understanding how the legislation affects their role and their company and so on. So it's doing that bit of, so we're giving them the basics in terms of this is what the legislation says, but they still need to do the next bit in terms of how that applies at their site.
Yeah, and it's making a lot of them think that there's areas they wouldn't necessarily deal with, but as part of doing the qualification, they're then going and finding that information out and developing their own personal knowledge.
Yeah.
At the
Which
same
is
time.
which is the whole idea. They should be of doing a qualification to improve that candidate's knowledge. So yeah, sounds exciting. So how do people find out about cohort 2 starting in June?
So there is a webinar that's going to come up, and Alistair's going to correct me with the date for this one.
I'm my usual disorganised that I don't have the date in front of me. Our producer has confirmed it is the 21st. So if you're interested in that, get yourself signed up.
But there's details already on the Albion website as well, providing information in regards to what the Smarter Pathway means and the costings for it as well. And if anyone's got any questions and they're still not sure, they can contact myself in the office as well. And I'm happy to have that discussion with them.
Sounds exciting. So moving on from that, what's your worst disaster you've had with Albion? What's your introduction to the waste industry?
It's probably not so much the introduction to the waste industry. We had a bit of a catastrophe in the office.
Dear,
So
are we allowed to talk about this one?
We just had a slight hiccup of a power outage, which we didn't realise the impact on until a lot later on. But no, the site, or the only other incident, potentially disaster, was when I did a training course in-house at Albion, and we were using fire extinguishers to do the training. And
Why?
unfortunately, the nozzle, when I went to use the fire extinguisher, the nozzle shot off the end of the hose, and unfortunately, I was covered with the foam from the fire extinguisher.
I shouldn't have laughed really. You weren't hurt in the process, obviously, Kirstie, were you?
Well, first aid did have to be administered due to the fact it had been in my eyes. So, but yes, that was an interesting concept. Suddenly going from training to being drenched.
And how in terms of your role at Albion, you mentioned earlier on you've been here 7 years. What have you noticed since you started working for waste management consultants? Have you noticed anything about your everyday life and how you approach things? In terms of waste management?
Yes. No, in terms of waste management, it wasn't until I started with Albion and obviously sat in some of the rehas courses that there was things that I did without realising the impact of not disposing of certain waste correctly. And it actually took sitting in a course and it made me realise the impact, just even the slightest thing being done incorrectly can have on the impact. I'm probably more aware of the different clients we deal with now than I've ever seen before. That I'm more conscious when I'm out and about and there's clients that are companies I'd heard of, but not until I started working with Albion. I seem to notice them more and more when I'm out and about and don't go in different places. Oh, that's one of our clients. Oh, that's one of our clients.
still got some work. We've still got some work to do regarding what can go in what bins, Kirstie, in the office, because there's currently a bin upstairs beside my office. It's full of plastic film, and it's meant to be the plastic recycling one, which our council service only takes hard plastic. And for some reason, a certain member of staff who has been spoken to has put soft plastic into it. So a work in progress. But I think it just emphasises that if some of our staff can't get it right, how on earth are the messages we're giving to the public's really confused. Yeah. So what about getting away from work, relaxing and getting away from work? What do you do in your free time?
In my free time, one of the bizarre things I do is strength training.
Upsettingly so, because you can lift more than me normally.
Which quite a lot of people find surprising. For someone at 5'4" can deadlift 140 kilograms or bench 72.5 kilograms.
Is that your recent PBs? Are they changed recently?
That's in fact, well, it's coming up to my heavy week at the strength training this week, so we'll see if there's any new ones arise from this week.
And do you still were you not doing stuff with guides groups and stuff? Are you still doing that?
The Salvation Army, yes, I still am involved with the band and the church doing different things. More so, Christmas time is our busy time. To the point I think I was out every weekend in December last year, playing at different areas, doing the carol singing, etc. And so December, I pretty much have no voice for the month of December between the singing and the band playing.
I do have to ask, what do you play?
So when I first started learning, I originally was playing the tenor horn, but for the past couple of years now, I have been playing the baritone. But all in all, I've been playing for around 10 to 15 years now.
Was that your dad that got you into that?
Not really. He is ex-band. He did the band through the actual army. He did that for 10 years where he went travelling around the world in different places. So that's been my musical background comes from. But it was something I'd always kind of seen and caught my eye, and I was like, I want to try this, see if I can actually do it. So that was where I learnt it from. That's definitely a musical background.
I remember vividly I can't remember, was it before COVID or was it after COVID? We had a very small band in for our Christmas lunch, which was very, very pleasant for a different thing to do in a lunchtime meeting or whatever it was.
That was an occasion. I just started in the March and I let slip that year of the fact that I played in the band, and I was kindly volunteered.
There's always a danger at Albion if you admit you can do something that you end up with that job. So it doesn't look like you've suffered for it. So that's all good. So what's next? Obviously, the Albion Academy has been a big thing here. What's next? What's the big plans, Kirstie? And you're not allowed to say you're leaving or anything. That's obviously banned.
No. So, as well as the Albion Academy, we're also going to be launching our upcoming training courses. And what we've done with them is we've kind of made them into a central location for a lot of individuals. It's easier to get to a central location. So we have both the 1-day and the 2-day rehearse courses coming up in June also. And as well as that, personal development wise, I am working on a qualification myself. So I get to understand what the candidates are going through at the same time. So it helps develop my knowledge and understanding and how to help them.
That sounds good. And obviously we've got big plans for Albion Academy as a online learning platform. So I'm sure once we get all the Smarter Pathway up and running fully underway, there will be other content put onto the Albion Academy. So I actually really think, from my perspective with Albion Academy, what we've done with Smarter Pathway, what yourself and Mia and Anna have done is, you've almost demonstrated what is possible, and it's building blocks. Once we've got one thing on, we can add to the next thing, and we can add to the next thing. And I think people really appreciate it. I know I've said to you a few times, I'm doing another course on the same platform, and it's just so easy to dip. I was going up to Glasgow the other day in the train, and I sat and did two hours of videos, just going up and down the train. So and I think there's more and more people are wanting that sort of flexibility to do that learning whenever they want and whatever they want, and the technology.
There's been the positive feedback on the first launch already with some of the candidates.
Yeah.
And how they're, and it's just, as you say, those short videos, a lot of them are finding it easier and more manageable.
Yeah.
That they can sit and listen while they're doing things.
I think the worry I've got with it is the sit and watch, and I find this with the course I'm on at the moment. The sit and watching the videos is the easy part. You can sit and do that till your heart's content. But then when you've actually got to put pen to paper and actually put a bit of thought to it and all the rest, that's where it gets a bit harder. But hopefully we've made a bit of a stepping stone. Because in the past, when we did the COTC, we threw a lot of information at candidates, and as you said, then just it's not that they lost progress. It's just there wasn't the focus on it. There wasn't the attention in it, and other things took priority, and then it drifted and drifted and drifted, and that was no good for us, and it was no good for the candidates.
Yeah, and this new concept we've done is, as we say, we've done it in the 4 modules. So previously they'd have been jumping when they were doing the question papers. They'll have been jumping between the different sectors.
Yeah.
So just when they were doing a health and safety question, they were then doing a legislation, or then there's the site operations. Whereas this one, they're solely focusing on all the health and safety for the first module, then the legislation for the second module. So they're not having to kind of jump back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Their brain's already switched on health and safety.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that really helps us is by the end, once they come off the end of the smarter pathway, we'll actually have a really good understanding of what they're capable of. So we'll know the candidates that need maybe a bit more support to do their COTC, and then we'll know the ones that can, they're perfectly competent, they're able to do it, and they just need the sort of guidance to run with it. So all exciting stuff. So one thing you mentioned when you first came into the sector about all the acronyms and all the changes. One thing that you maybe want to share with listeners about the sector that most people maybe haven't thought about?
Probably the kind of understanding of it, as you mentioned earlier, the constant changes of information that people are being fed, and that's where Albion's really good of trying to help people understand through the different projects we do, from the training to the consultancy to the other projects I know you've launched, like in My Bins, etc. It's just trying to get that clarification out there is the key kind of thing, which is what, as I say, where Albion is constantly developing how we do that for individuals, and getting that information out there. That as soon as we know of changes, we've just done a ESA webinar recently in regards to the changes that's happening. We're getting that information out there as soon as possible, and doing webinars, getting emails out there, and it's just constantly building that interaction. Is what I've found is a key kind of thing with individuals.
And then your favourite bit of slang or dialect you've learnt since you started? I'm sure working with the Glasgow bin men, you got a few gruesome stories about
yes,
all sorts.
Yes, there was definite gruesome stories coming out of there where I don't know, I can't even repeat them. I really can't, because it's even now thinking about back of what they sold me generally gives me the fear of not wanting to go into that site. So it does, but it's just even like doing that project, the different terminology that individuals use in regards to the waste. That I'm just down the road in Kilmarnock. There's still this that.
You're always. I was going to start that earlier on. You've always been a Kilmarnock girl, I believe.
Yes.
Which is not great. It's not great working for an air-based company, Kirstie.
No, there was a slight baptism by fire when I first started in Albion, where the individual that was training me up, we got into discussion about football, because I'm quite into my football, and as soon as he found out it was from Kilmarnock, he went, "Oh, you're one of those supporters then?" Which I knew straight away then was, I know you're the other one then.
I'm totally out of touch, Kirstie. Apologies for my lack of football knowledge, but where's Kilmarnock sitting in a relation to Ayr United at the moment?
In a league above them.
In a league, so there's no particular competition at the moment. So yeah,
no, not at the moment.
Shows you my lack of knowledge. So I'm going to just wrapping up here. I'm going to give you a magic wand to sort something out in the big bad world of waste, or in the big bad world of your role. What would you like to use it for?
If I could change anything, would be one of my pet is probably the bin system. is streamlining because every council has a completely different bin system. That even my council changed it a couple of years ago, and now that's them changing it again.
Have they started that rollout? That rollout should be starting.
That rollout, yes, they were rolling out parts of East Ayrshire.
Yep.
From the trolley bins back to the big wheelie bins and cutting down the service.
Yep.
So I just don't understand. Because if you have discussions with different people for different councils, the different coloured bins are getting used for so many different areas.
Yeah.
Instead of just everything all being the same, it would make it so much easier across the board.
I think that one's flown the nest though, because they're not gonna change bins or whatever. But obviously East Ayrshire are changing bins, but in terms of colours and stuff, I think I totally agree, the lack of consistency across the country as to what can and can't go in bins is probably not the best. We know that from trying to work out for the My Bins app, for the demo versions of the My Bins app. You go into a council website and you try and work out the bin service, and in some cases it's really good, and in some cases the information is really, really poor. And just even consistent standard of information would be great, but we can keep banging that drum. And finally, Kirstie, for the younger generation, I would say you're probably nearing the younger end of the staff in the office. But in saying that, we have got new young staff joining that you're probably verging towards the older staff.
I'm still in the middle at the moment. And I'm staying with that one. I'm fighting that one.
I'll let you stay in the middle at the moment, but you will have younger staff joining you, certainly. Any advice for younger generation coming into the sector?
Probably be open-minded because a lot of people have a concept of what the waste industry is like, but it's not until you're actually in it and working with it that what you think doesn't match up with what actually happens in the industry. Is a key kind of thing. And the other part of being open-minded is gathering the knowledge. The amount of knowledge that you can get within the waste industry. There's areas I never even considered until I started working with Albion and started doing the training courses and the qualifications, that I had no concept of the different levels of the qualifications, for instance, and what was required to be on site.
Sounds like good advice. So that's me exhausted my extensive question list. Thank you very much. Probably long overdue to have you on, actually. So what I would like to say is wish you well with the Smarter Pathway qualification. We're looking forward to Cohort 1 progressing and Cohort 2 starting in the near future. Thank you very, very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. See you again next Thursday at 4 p.m. Don't forget to follow, share with friends, and send us your feedback at hello@rubbishtalk.co.